3, 2, 1. Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschooling. I am turned up for today's interview with Allyson. Woo! This is going to be great. We're going to make it through. We're crossing our fingers for good internet connection. We have shut down everything. No one else can get on the internet in our house, but we're going to make this happen. So excited to have Allyson, and I get a chance to get to know Allyson a little bit more as well. So let me just tell you really quick who I am. I am Angela Jordan Perry. I'm the host of Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschooling. I am located out of South Carolina, the northernmost part of the state. We're in the foothills where we're small farmers, and we raise animals, and we raise 8 children. How about that? I'm married to a husband of one husband, 26 years, and we're entrepreneurs out here, and I also help largely in the homeschooling community. So that's a little bit about me, but are you ready to make it happen, Allyson?
I am ready.
Woo! All right. Well, we have Garrison. Allyson, she goes by Allie. Allie Garrison is a homeschool mom of 3, as well as a lifestyle newborn and family photographer at The Journey by Allie Photography. And her work is precious. When I say precious, it's beautiful. She's located in Greenville, South Carolina. Allyson makes her home in Greenville with her wonderful hubby, 3 kiddos, and their kitty, Mr. Darcy. She is a Jane Austen loving chocoholic and a recovering perfectionist who is reminded daily that she is but a sinner saved by grace. She spends most days precariously balancing housework and homeschooling her children, yes, that's all of us, while trying to satisfy her creative itch. That's not me. But Allyson is passionate about helping new moms believe they can do it, as well as help moms learn to give themselves grace in the day-to-day. When Allyson is not homeschooling or photographing something, you are most likely to find her out in her garden or in the kitchen cooking up something from scratch. Woo! Allyson. Me and you, girl, we don't have anything. We need to be friends because I am not like all of that excited about those things. But that is great to hear about you. So, Allyson, please tell us, our girlfriends, more about yourself and how you actually got started in homeschooling.
Is a wife, stay-at-home mother, blogger at Mommy Life Renewed, where she shares her homeschool journey close and personal. Mystiqua is a mompreneur with many talents who lives in Cajun, Louisiana with her husband, 7 biological children, stepmother to 2 children, and Nona to 1. With a few new ventures added to her bio, podcaster with her husband at Marriage Moments with Andre and Mystiqua, and owner and chief creative officer of Mystiqua K-Design Studio, where she specializes in web design, logo design, and self-care events. Learn more at www.mystiquakimble.com.
Okay, so I actually was raised, homeschooled. I should say raised homeschooled. I was public school for the first 4 years, then 5 years homeschooled, and then went back to public school in a different area the last 3 years. And I loved our time homeschooling. It was such a precious time. My siblings and I, there were 4 of us, were really close. And I think homeschooling had a lot to do with that, because when you live with each other 24/7, you just kind of have to learn how to get along. And so we did, and we're still really close. And so that was probably the biggest thing that made me want to homeschool our kids. A little bit more about myself. I speak Spanish, some French, and I'm learning American Sign Language. Trying to. So I love languages. Pretty much just love learning. Kind of addicted to learning, which works well as a homeschool mom because we just kind of geek it out together, me and the kids. So
that's what we do. That's what we do. So you said you speak Spanish?
I do.
Fluently?
Yes. It's been maybe a little rusty because it's been a while having kids since I've gotten to travel much, but yes.
Yeah, we had that in common. How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you said you grew up in homeschool, so it was a positive experience for you during that time. About how many years was that? I was trying to calculate. How many years was that?
So I was homeschooled for 5 years, but one of my sisters went, I think, 9 years through, and the last two were homeschooled the whole way through.
Okay, so a positive experience, enough to
Ab-
make you want to do. So based on that experience, made you want to homeschool your own children.
Yes, I want them to be as close as we were, and I feel like none of us, of the four of us, none of us ever got to a place where we felt like mom and dad were just not cool at all, or we just, we didn't feel like they were were valid. Didn't feel like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. We respected them, and I think a lot of that too was, you know, being with them, and I get to see mom live day to day, and seeing them be willing to apologize when they did things wrong. The respect really grew a lot from just living life 24/7 with my
Yeah.
mom.
What are the ages of your children you're homeschooling, Allison?
3 or 3.5, 5.5, and almost 8.
Okay, 3.5, 5.5, and almost 8. And so you've been doing it from the beginning with your oldest,
Yes, yes,
and your oldest is a boy, correct? Is that
correct, correct.
okay? So even starting to homeschool him, did you have any apprehension, like a boy? You hear all the stories about homeschooling a boy. They're different. They're this, all the stuff you hear about boys. Was there any apprehension for you, even at this start out the gate of homeschooling?
There was. I think my biggest apprehension was, what do I do with the other two while I'm trying to be teacher to him? How am I going to be mom to toddler and a preschooler when I'm trying to be teacher to a kindergartner? That was probably the thing that was the most scary to me.
Yeah. How did it turn out? How did you start off? How did it go?
It was a lot of flexibility. So I didn't say this, I'm also a trained teacher. So I was actually a high school Spanish teacher by education. And so when we first started, I had it all set up. We were going to have our little homeschool room with our table, and this is how it's going to go. And the girls can just play over here quietly next to us. And, or no, I'm sorry, I was going to have them play downstairs. We were upstairs, and they never played downstairs. They kept trying to come upstairs with us. They wanted to be on whatever the same level of the house was that we were. And I was like, this is just not working, because he wanted to be over playing, not sitting here doing schoolwork. So I learned to be flexible with where we did it and how we did it. He was able to do it at a little desk in his room sometimes, or we do it at the table. Sometimes I would let him go out in the fort and do his math, so he could be kicking his legs or whatever he needed to be doing, as long as he was getting his work done. And then I learned, as long as we were on the ground level, the girls would play in their room and let us work at the table. So that was, and there was a lot of like breaks, and I'd do stuff with them for 10 minutes while he took a break, and then we'd go back to whatever we needed to work on.
Yeah. So you just figured it out and made it work, basically,
Right.
with your little
Right.
ones. You just trial and error. Trial and error. Look, point, and I always like to ask this question to homeschoolers who have prior education background, and everyone so far, I think we're 100%, everyone's saying that it has not benefited them necessarily. And I bring that point up because a lot of homeschoolers feel like I need to have this education degree. I need to be a teacher or something. Or people always ask you, do you have an education degree?
Right.
Which, that supposedly qualify you to be able to teach your children at home. So I'm glad to hear, not glad, but, to hear you say as well, it really does not make a difference. It really didn't help.
Right.
Going on a little bit, take us back to, you had said your first day of homeschooling, it was pretty much a juggling act, and you got it all together.
Yeah.
What things can you share that you've learned, since having an older child than these two little ones? What have you learned works to have a successful schooling, day or week or month?
I think the biggest thing for us has been taking breaks. I think when I first started, I just wanted, let's just knock all our subjects out. And so I've learned, I'll let my son, he does his math, he gets a 10-minute break. He earns that. It gives me time to either fold clothes or go do something with the girls or get them set up on their, we love Leapfrog letter factory. So maybe I'm turning that on so that when we do our next thing, they're taken care of. And the other thing I've learned, and this has been especially this year once my middle child started kindergarten, is the 3-year-old just loves to be with us. So she just sits in my lap, and she can already recognize 5 or 6 sight words just because she sees sister doing it, and she wants to do it too. And I was like, oh, you do know those. So that's a benefit. That's, kind of letting them be involved. It can be more difficult, a little more sticky sometimes, but it's amazing to me what little kids will soak up because big brother,
Yeah.
big sister is learning it.
Leapfrog was our favorite video too. My kids probably can quote it back and forth, back and forth. I mean, because every day they looked at Leapfrog, every day they looked at Sesame Street 1, 2, 3 and Sesame Street ABC, and we had a Spanish CD, CD or DVD that they looked at every day. And all my girlfriends, we have Allyson Garrison with us today, homeschool mom out of South Carolina of 3 children, ages 8, 5.5, and 3.5. So she's just giving us some wisdom and nuggets on how to juggle all of that with little ones and one that's in school. So she said that she found that keeping the kids involved or around the schooling has helped tremendously. Are you feeling that you were going to start officially schooling your 3.5 a little bit sooner in age than normal age of schooling?
I think probably. I'm not going to push it. I think we'll probably just do whatever we feel like she's ready for. And if she has a day where she just needs to be 4, I'm just going to let her go before and play. But I think we probably will start some of the curriculum that I did in kindergarten with my other 2 earlier because she's just seeming like she's ready.
So what is your daily habit now with them? And even for yourself, what does your day look like from start to end of schooling, your school day?
So usually I try to get up before the kids, if possible. This last fall, I've kind of went through some health issues that made it a lot harder for me to get up way early. But I like to be up by like 6, so that I can get up. They get up a little bit later. Usually my son may be up about 7. The girls not till about 7:30, even 8 if I'm really lucky. But get up, spend some time with God, get a shower, maybe work out first if I have time. And then it really helps for me. I found if I can get a load of clothes in before they get up and get those started so that while I'm making breakfast, they're cooking. When breakfast is about time it's ready, I can swap them over to the dryer. And then, we do breakfast and then they have just kind of each of them has some little chores that they're responsible for in the mornings, and they do that while I clean dishes, and then we jump into our school time.
Let me ask you this too. Sometimes you hear that for some homeschoolers, they feel like they're not doing it successfully, like it's just not going well for them. Do you have any advice of why that might be the case? Something that you experienced that, hey, I was doing this, and this is certainly what was causing me not to have a successful schooling time. Can you speak to that at all, Allyson?
Definitely. Like I said earlier, I think the biggest thing I figured out for my son, I think if he was in school, he probably would have been classified as ADHD. But he's just all boy. He's got to move. And I think being willing to be flexible and not tell him this is where you're going to do your school. You will do math, then language, then, and I give him breaks, and he knows that 10-minute break is coming. The sooner you get done, the sooner you get to your break, but you got to do it well. So the breaks has been huge. I think the other thing is letting go of my expectations of what it was supposed to be like and being willing to be flexible. For example, with math, just this last 2 weeks, it's like he's just dragging and not wanting to get through it. And I just kind of have realized we got to change some things up a little bit. He's just kind of getting bored with it and frustrated with some things. So we just put down the curriculum and we're just practicing math facts, multiplication facts, and making up games with them and just taking 2 weeks to kind of have some fun with math. So being flexible, I guess. Not being
flexible. Yeah, go ahead.
Just not being so stuck on following your curriculum, from page 1 to page done, and being willing to change it up as needed for your kids.
That's huge, and I'm glad you said that exactly. Because if you're of a personality like mine, a red personality, we tend to go this way. Curriculum, go, step by step. Blues add in that creativity and the excitement and all the stuff, but for a red personality, we're really by the books, and adding in that creativity and adding in the newness every now and then, doing something new that you don't even do. Like, I was just telling one mom 1 week, maybe let them be self-learners, self-led learners. What do they want to do that week? And then the next week, go and do the curriculum thing, something different. And it just keeps it fresh. We can get in a rut, and we don't have to be in a rut in our homeschooling. We can make it unique and look however we want. So that's really huge. Thanks for sharing that. Most families are on one income, and you said that you have your own business aside to do that. How do you manage homeschooling, mom life, with all of that entails, business, wife, self-care?
It's,
How are you doing that and successful? Are you successful at doing it or not so successful?
I think I'm learning to be successful. I was definitely not successful. So I officially started my business 2 years ago. And by this last August, I basically had a physical breakdown from I was burning the candle at both ends, trying to be, great homeschool mom. I also serve at my church in a capacity. And so trying to do that and be involved in our small group there, and then trying to run the business and really grow that. I just kind of burned myself out, and I ended up having chronic fatigue. I've got joint issues. I went through a period of really constant anxiety and just being basically wearing myself down. And I was able to see a Christian therapist in the area during the process of figuring out what was going on. And her question to me was, what do you do for fun? And I was like, what's fun? I don't know. I think photography was supposed to be fun, but now it's, more business. And so I've just kind of learned, I make myself sit down every day now. When we call time in the afternoon, we call rest time. Used to be nap time, but all my kids gave their naps up early. So we do rest time, and they all have to go to their rooms for 2 hours. And they actually will mostly stay in there. But the first 30 to 45 minutes, I make myself sit down now, and I can read a book for pleasure, or if I have somebody available to chat, I might call a friend and chat, or I sit and, pray, or honestly, sometimes I just let myself sit and rock. This is my corner right here. So, I make myself sit and rest, and that has made a huge difference. Just making myself take a break, even just for 30 minutes a day.
And that's your ritual. That's your routine.
That's right.
Got to get it done.
If you don't make it routine, you won't do it.
That's good. That is good. Good. Now, Allyson, take us to your worst day ever of homeschooling. So bad that, you know what, you need to go to public school, or you need to go somebody else's school, but I don't need school anymore. Take us to that day where you almost quit, Allyson, but you didn't. And that's why you're the amazing homeschooling mom you are today. You're still in it.
So that would have been back in this past summer. We don't do every single day in the summer, but we do kind of here and there. And we do a lot of kind of creative work too. So we had noticed, my son has been very difficult from the time he was about 2 to about 4.5. It was nonstop discipline and behavior issues, but he seemed to get better. And then we went through a period through like May through late June last year where we were just having outburst tantrums like he was 2 again, and he just could not get control. If he really wanted something, we said no, he would just lose control. And there was one day in particular, it was a Friday, and he was just losing it, and it didn't matter what I did. Every little thing, he just lost it over. And we sent him to his room. He had to miss movie night with the family. We told him if he didn't get control, he was going to miss pizza too. He didn't get control. 3.5 hours in there screaming and kicking, finally kicked a hole in his wall. And I was like, okay, I don't know what else to do. And really, honestly, just started praying about it because I was homeschooled. I knew that I wanted to do that. I didn't want to give up on that, but I remember telling my husband, I'm about done. I've had it. I don't know what else to do. So we just prayed about it, and I started researching and found that artificial dye can have can create behavior issues in a lot of kids, especially if they have ADD or ADHD, which we, is possible that he has, that we have not had him tested. And we took that out, and within 3 days we saw a tremendous difference. And then really? We're still seeing the benefits of it now. But I would say that was kind of my breaking point, where I was just like, I'm ready to quit. And thankfully my husband knows how important this is to me, and he has really bought in to just the benefits that we've seen of homeschooling. He was like, no, you're not ready to quit. You're just having a bad day. We're going to work through this, and we're going to think about this again on Monday. We're not going to worry about it this weekend. So
tell us, what kind of things did you take out his diet, Allyson?
I don't do any artificial dye. All the F, D, and C, like red 40, blue 1 and 2, those kinds, any of those artificial dyes or flavors. We don't do that. And then there's 3 main preservatives. So the diet, if anyone's having this problem, another homeschool mom of I think like 20 years from back home that my mom was friends with actually shared with me. The name of the diet is the Feingold diet. And it was actually created by an allergist in the 60s and 70s who just he was trying to figure out what kids were allergic to. And through doing an elimination diet to figure out that, they started seeing all these behavior issues go away in these kids as well. And then they eventually discovered that there were certain foods, a lot of the like fruits and berries will be something you temporarily take out and then kind of add back one at a time just to see if they have a reaction. Thankfully, he has not reacted to any of like the fruits and veggies that you had to take out yet. We haven't added everything back yet, but the main thing for him is the dye. He just cannot have artificial dye.
Wow, wow, that's good to know. That's amazing information to
It's
know.
incredibly
And
helpful.
you said it's the say it again?
Feingold, Feingold, Feingold diet. And if
Oh,
you
okay.
Google that, it'll pop up.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so conversely to your worst day of homeschooling, Allyson, what has been your proudest moment in homeschooling where you're like, this is worth it. This is why I do what I do and all the sacrifices. Take us to that day.
So this is like my favorite thing to share. And this was actually fairly recently. I'm going to step back just a little bit to give the backstory. But so, I said I was raised homeschooling. I've always wanted to homeschool. And my very first homeschool convention was, I think, 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. I was like really early, jumping in early. And I came up the escalator to the registration, and I look over, and there's this family of like 6 or 7 kids. Mom and dad sitting there, and dad is saying something, and they are just enthralled in whatever he's saying. And I remember saying, please, God, let that be my story one day. Let my kids want to know what I have to say. Fast forward to this last fall when things got really difficult. I was to the point of I had tons of doctor's appointments I was having to go to, and I was trying to find sitters. And I had this one day in particular, during the week, homeschool day. We had done our work. The sitter I had fell through, but I needed to go to the doctor. And I was like, I'm just going to be brave and we'll take him with me. And we were reading through Little House on the Prairie right now and studying kind of what prairie life was like. So I took our book with us, and we were sitting there in the doctor's office. I had Abby on my lap and Elsie beside me on one side and James on the other. And I'm sitting there reading, and all of a sudden it hits me in the middle. I'm sorry, I'm going to cry. In the middle of this office that my kids are just enthralled in what mommy's teaching them. Like even my 3-year-old. And I thought, oh, thank you, God. So that was 4 years ago that I prayed that prayer and had this dream. And I'm like, I'm watching it like just come to fruition right before my eyes. And so that's my best day, and that's people that are on the fence and thinking about it. I always have to share that because it's really sweet. It's just so sweet to be able to share with your kids and have them actually care what mom and dad have to say. And I know mine are still small. I hope that continues as they get older, but it was a precious day for me.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And you just encouraged me in something that I know to be important but I never have implemented into my homeschool is the power of visualization. I do that a lot with my business, visualization. I do that every day, go through a period of visualization because it's the power of what you see. I mean, we know this, what you see here is eventually what you will see come to fruition. But you got to start off with the vision. You got to start off with the vision of it. And so I just wonder, thank you for sharing that because that gives me the hope. Okay, I need to now visualize, give myself a vision for my homeschooling. And I hope for you girlfriends and guy friends who are listening to this is huge. She just laid a big nugget for us. And that is the power of visualization, because if you see it here in your mind's eye and you believe for that and that's your dream, what you're believing for will eventually come to pass. It's going to come to pass. That's faith in action. And so thank you. I'm going to start visualizing, what do I want from my homeschool? What do I think my kids deserve from the homeschool? And then hold on to that and believe for it and dream for it and then see it. So thank you. That was a huge nugget. The girlfriends, we have Allyson Garrison with us from South Carolina. Thank you all for hanging in there with us. I think we are good to go. Heather, Sheba, Esther, all of you, thank you for joining. All those who are on the replay, just be sure to share and hit the share button so other homeschoolers can get this encouragement. Every time we have an amazing interviewee come on, you can get the notifications. We're on YouTube, on the Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschooling, and Facebook on Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschool. So hit the share button, get it out. So you just never know who might need to hear what Allyson has to say at this moment. So let's go on to some quick questions here, Allyson. These are at the end of our show, just to quickly, just pick your brain. You can give a couple of sentence answers to them, and that would be great. So what is your favorite quote that helps you through this homeschooling journey, Allyson?
That's a good question. Honestly, and this is going to sound really churchy, but for me, Philippians 4:6-7, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. I have had to say I am a worrywart and a perfectionist, as you mentioned at the beginning. And I think I try to be a control freak. And I think to be able to let things go and to keep telling myself, give it to the Lord, give it to the Lord. I can't control everything. And this last fall, all the health things I went through really just reminded me how not in control I am. And it was actually a really healthy experience.
That is good. That's good. That's really powerful. Do you plan to homeschool your children all the way through to high school and graduation? I
would love to. We're not totally, I guess, hung up on that. If the Lord shows us that it's His will for us to do something else, we will do that. But I really hope to. I would love for them to be able to dual enroll. I love the idea that even in high school, because you can get your work done so much faster, it allows you to do other things. So. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Good deal. What curriculum or book could you suggest for our girlfriends and guy friends that you have in your library that you feel like every homeschool must have this book or this CD?
For like encouragement and stuff?
Encouragement, insights, the how-tos of schooling, anything.
When you're starting out, I think it's called 101 Homeschool Curriculums by Kathy Duffy. That one is awesome because it kind of gives you an overview of the different approaches to education, and then also once you've figured out kind of what your style is, it will break down by curriculum. Like these, if you are Charlotte Mason, these are the ones you want. These are probably your curriculum. If you're more classical, these are your curriculum. So that can be helpful. That's probably I'd say the number one. If you're a little overwhelmed about picking curriculum, that's probably the number one place to start.
That's good. Okay, what is the best piece of advice you've received during your homeschooling journey?
I think that would come from my mom. So back at the very beginning, we were getting started with math. We used Saxon math, and we were doing every single thing you're supposed to do every day we were doing. And the meeting book, James just hated it. And I remember telling my mom, he just hates this. And she said, well, then why are you doing that? And I was like, well, because it's part of the curriculum. She said, you're the teacher. It doesn't have to be part of your curriculum, just because it comes with a book. And I was like, oh yeah, I am a teacher, just like I was in my classroom. I didn't always do every activity. I don't have to do that now either. So I think that was the biggest thing. Like, you're the teacher.
You're the teacher. You don't have to do all this stuff. Yes, that's huge. That's huge. Tell us, what is your favorite resource that you use, whether it's online or an app or curriculum or something like that, that you can share with our girlfriends?
I would have to say YouTube. Because a lot of what we do for history and science, we don't have a curriculum. We may go out in the garden or go on a nature walk. We're reading, like I said, Little House on the Prairie right now. Our next on the list is hopefully Tom Sawyer. So when we get to something in one of those books where they're like, Mommy, what is this? We just YouTube it. We've gotten to see what a spinning wheel looks like and how you card wool and then get it ready to spin. Trying to think. The solar eclipse, when we got ready to do that, we were able to watch YouTube videos so they knew what to expect before we got there. So YouTube, I would say, is probably our number one favorite thing to use in creative ways.
Okay, so I have to ask you, you said you don't use curriculum. Do you create your own curriculum, or are you more unschooled or self-learning?
We do use curriculum. I do Saxon math, and then for language arts, we start off with Explode the Code, and then next year I'm planning to move my eldest, once he's in 3rd grade, into Abeka language. That was just gave my siblings and I a really good foundation, so that's probably where I'll go with that. But otherwise, as far as like the extras, like the history and science, we don't use curriculum. We just based on whatever they're interested in. That's where we go with.
All right, well, Allyson, we're on our last question, the $1 million question. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Yes. All right, well, Allyson, if you had to start all over again, back to just first day of homeschooling, but you have your current wisdom, knowledge, skills, convictions, what would be the first thing you would ensure you don't do, or you make sure you do as you start this homeschooling journey?
I think I would make creating a love of learning be my number one priority, rather than picking out my curriculums and making sure our day is super organized. And I'm geeky about that stuff. I think it would be just being willing to be flexible and making sure that we're not doing anything that is not developing a love of learning within my children. Instead of being so hung up on getting their, whatever the book says we're supposed to be done or supposed to be doing done, I think I would be more willing to be flexible. If they really want to learn about Helen Keller today, they're just really interested in that, we'll dive off into that and be willing to go and jump on whatever they're interested in, because that's teaching them to crave knowledge. And that's really what I want my homeschool to be about.
Tell us 3 things. 1, any last words of advice for these girlfriends and guy friends? 2, what do you currently have your hands in that you would like to get the word out to the homeschooling community as an extended village? And 3, what is the easiest way that these viewers can contact you if they have more questions, they want to continue the conversation with you?
The best way to contact me is probably my email address, not Facebook, because I'm not the best at checking social media. My email address is Ally, ALLY, .Garrison, GARRISON @gmail.com. As far as, you said 3 things you want me pieces of advice?
1 was piece of advice. What do you have your hands in that you want to get out and let the homeschool community know about? And then you already gave us how to contact you. So the other 2.
Okay. Piece of advice. Like I said, I think being flexible, just be flexible, and study your children like you would study in a class, like you would study math or whatever. Study your children, learn your children, and learn how to play to their strengths and help them through their weaknesses. So flexibility in studying your children. And what do I have my hands in? So right now, mostly homeschooling or my photography work. So I'm really passionate about newborn photography, and a lot of that stems from, I really feel like the Lord has put a passion in my heart for encouraging young moms, young women, but especially young moms who feel bogged down and overwhelmed with just all the weight of the responsibility that they have on them. And so I feel like in doing newborn photography, it puts me in front of moms that I'm able to encourage and tell them, you can do this. And if they have questions, I'm going to this is what worked for me, this is what didn't, and just, help them kind of work through and be encouraged that they can make it.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Girlfriends, you are the average sum of the 5 people you hang out with. And you have been hanging out with Ally Garrison out of South Carolina. So you all keep up the momentum and continue to connect with positive homeschoolers who's going to make a positive impact in your homeschooling journey. And then also you be that positive impact that someone may need to draw from, and for their homeschooling journey. Thank you so much, Allyson. Girlfriends, you all be sure to go over to Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschooling. Follow and like our Facebook page, and then you can also follow us on YouTube or subscribe on YouTube at Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschooling. That's an S and then apostrophe, so that whenever we go live, you can get the notifications and all the new series that I come out with. You will be in the know about those series. So other than that, Allyson, Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschooling, we are grateful to you and appreciate you for giving of your time, your energy, your wisdom, and just making a positive impact on thousands of homeschoolers worldwide. So thank you so much, Allyson. And I just pray God bless upon you. Thank you. All right, so girlfriends, before we end everything, I pray that this has been very informative to you, encouraging, enlightening. You have a lot of nuggets to take away and chew on and think about. Every time I do an interview, I walk away with more. You think I'm going to end up being like this guru homeschooler, I'm telling you. And I have 18 years under my belt. But every time I talk to a homeschool, do this interview, I walk away with nuggets that I want to implement and think on and chew on. So be sure to go back and listen to this, put it on repeat, and chew on things Allyson said that may have, you really need to think about and consider for your own homeschooling journey. So just remember that to teach a child is to touch a life. And as we homeschool, we not only touch a life, we shape the future through our efforts of homeschooling, which is a big deal.
Amen.
So keep making a positive impact day after day, year after year. Our kids are not looking for perfection. They're not looking for perfection. They're looking for loving home educators and parents who's going to help guide them in their direction to how to learn, just like Allyson said, facilitating learners, love of learning. So thank you so much for joining us on this interview with Allyson Garrison. And until next time, we'll see you then. Take care. Thanks, Allyson.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.